Welcome back, fellas. For this video, we'll be looking at one of the most interesting and coolest devices in all of science fiction. Not just in anime, but I mean all of science fiction, the GUYVER unit. To be honest, I should have done this video earlier when I was doing the anime and live-action movie reviews for it. But better late than never. This video doesn't focus on the unit holders, but rather on the bio booster unit itself. So, the G units are a mysterious techno-organic device of alien manufacture, while looking like a spherical device that seems like it could be a component for some kind of large machinery. This is actually the inactive or dormant mode of techno-organic suits of armor that bond with a host at the genetic level, enhancing their innate capabilities and granting them an array of advanced techno-organic weaponry. The G units are technically symbiotes like Venom when you think about it. But unlike Venom's race, the Clintars, that were naturally spawned, the units were made by the creators, the Uranus, for a purpose. The GUYVER units were originally designed as all-purpose environmental suits, made to aid the creators in their exploration of alien worlds. Although classified as armor, it changes many aspects of the host's biological system, like removing and rearranging certain organs, the splicing of a host's DNA with its own, and the removal of the need to sleep or eat regularly. Besides increasing the powers of a human being when they wear it, a significant function of the unit is that it also frees their host completely from the telepathic control of the creators themselves. This led the creators to dub it GUYVER, which in their language carries several different meanings. Mainly abnormal, non-standard, or simply out of control. But it has to be noted that GUYVER is only used to refer to humans who equipped these biobooster units. The members of the Uranus who have these units equipped are not referred to as such. While incredibly durable, an activated GUYVER can still be damaged or even destroyed in certain cases. For example, the purpose-engineered GUYVER killer-type zoonoids like the enzyme series, which secrete a corrosive chemical compound capable of dissolving the armor itself to get at the wearer beneath. An interesting thing about these zoonoids is that they need to be kept in stasis units until they are ready to be deployed against a GUYVER. Because of how powerful the anti-GUYVER secretion is, it harms the zoonoids themselves after a period of time. Anyway, another high-risk opponent for a GUYVER would be an experienced, battle-tested zoolord. These guys have the sheer raw power necessary to destroy a GUYVER. Some hyperzoonoids could also be dangerous to a GUYVER, but it depends on that hyperzoonoid skill set and its battle form's characteristics. But the most effective tool to counter an active GUYVER is a weapon known as the Unit Remover, developed by the creators. This device forcibly deletes the host's genetic data from the control metal's records, forcing the armor back into stasis mode. But with that said, the condition of the human host after this process is unknown because of the alterations made to their physiology upon equipping the unit, where the removal of certain organs and their functions, which they alone cannot sustain. So the host most likely expires after some time once the unit is removed. The unit itself is semi-sentient and can act on its own in a limited capacity if its host is unable to consciously control it. In this mode, it usually acts only on self-preservation instincts, defending itself and the wearer from any perceived threat. This was seen when GUYVER 1 assumed control of its host after he was left unconscious, following the bonding process, when he was regenerated by the control metal in Kronos Japan headquarters, and when he killed the zoonoid his father had been turned into. It's this semi-sentience that prevents the host from disengaging the armor if they have sustained injuries that would prove fatal without the unit's protection and ability to rapidly heal from the damage. Originally, humanity was created as a weapon to fight in the Creator's wars, and because of this, the G unit enhances those attributes which the creators found desirable to the species' purpose as weapons. The unit grants any humans who equips a unit enhanced strength, incredible speed and reflexes, vast physical resilience, and a multitude of biological weapons and unique abilities, which set them above their peers and even some zoonoids. One of the main abilities is an overall enhancement in the host biology. This is the primary ability of the unit. Some sources state that the base organism from which the G unit was manufactured from was engineered to adapt, conform, and enhance the physical characteristics of its host lifeform to maximize their full genetic potential. But the G unit equipped creators were vastly inferior to humans equipped with the same unit. Due to humanity's original status as biological weapons, it's ironic. Some sources state that the Uranus used some development data from the BioBooster unit itself to engineer humanity. It's why some have speculated this is the reason for the high synergy of a human and a G unit being so overwhelming. Far more than any other organism that was adapted for combat. As much as I would have liked to have seen a GUYVER unit equipped to a T-Rex, I think it would have had less power than a human biobooster. I mention a T-Rex because dinosaurs were also a weapon project the creators had running at around the same time as humans. Let me know what you guys think of this. The reason I made this statement is because the powers and capabilities of an armored organism are dictated by their host genetics and not by the unit itself. Though the host's bones and muscles aren't replaced, they are bio-boosted by this merging of unit and host, increasing their cellular growth to peak levels that allow the host to exist in a state of permanent, perfect health, and essentially making the physical condition of any prospective host irrelevant. Furthermore, the host's body is infused with bioorganic energy, which both helps fuel the host's biology and increases their bone and muscle density, thus granting the GUYVER an overall increase in physical strength. The physical alterations like the replaced heart and lungs allow for far greater blood flow alongside the production of super-oxygenated blood to better regulate the host's bodily functions. They are also equipped with a super-efficient metabolism which allows them to draw sustenance from almost anything, including traditionally non-edible items, such as rocks or even metal. Think Space Marines from Warhammer 40k. Finally, the GUYVER possesses a system of organs that allow it to channel gravitational energy through the body, which can then be used to instantly boost the host's momentum by a factor of 10. This allows the GUYVER to punch or kick far harder than normal speed, and mass would allow. It's also a very efficient method of directly channeling energy into a physical attack, allowing the host to fight with absolute efficiency without the need for training or conditioning. Another key feature for the removal and rearranging of organs is a way to optimize its human host for combat. Less vital organs means less weak points that would hinder the combat effectiveness of its human host. Especially since, as stated above, the unit could provide a far more efficient substitute for these removed organs. The second key feature is the rapid regeneration and accelerated healing. The organism that composes the majority of the bio-boosted armor is capable of repairing and regrowing any part of itself or its host at an accelerated rate. This healing ability is so profound that it can completely regenerate GUYVER 1 from only a few cells attached to the control metal. Even when only a part of the host survives, they can still regenerate into a fully independent organism, sometimes within a span of minutes. More on that aspect later. Now, let's move on to the weapons. These weapons were genetically embedded into the biobooster organism as part of its genetic makeup. During the manufacturing of a GUYVER unit, it doesn't matter what organism the unit equips itself to. The weapon options are always the same. But with that said, were these options really weapons, or were they utility tools? They only seem like weapons because of the crazy output observed by human bioboosters. But as mentioned earlier, the units were environmental suits for exploration. So I think these were like their versions of Swiss Army knives and sonic charges, cutting lasers and some blast charges for their surveying and exploration of the unknown. Let me know what you guys think. So we'll start with the Sonic Buster. These are two orbs located at the Guyver's mouthpiece serve as sonic weapons that can produce highly destructive sound waves. At full power, the sound waves produced by the weapon do not merely batter or shake the object, but in fact home in on its molecular resonance frequency, causing it to literally disintegrate into a cloud of disparate particles within a matter of seconds. The Sonic Buster has also been seen to be able to focus in on particular objects and destroy them without devastating the Guyver's immediate surroundings. It can even be used as a counterweapon against zoonoids that are equipped with sonic weapons. Then we've got the Head Beam, a multi-directional infrared laser mounted just above the control metal on the Guyver's head. It utilizes excess body heat concentrated under one single point and expelled through a laser generator. Since the head beam uses body heat, rapid fire is possible, and it is often used over the Mega Smasher, which requires a substantial amount of time to charge. Next, we've got the high-frequency swords, or sonic swords. These blades protrude from the Guyver's elbow joint. Whether this anatomical position is fixed for other sentient life that equip these units are unknown. But the main feature of this weapon is that the blades are reinforced by a powerful alternating current and vibrate at extremely high frequencies when extended. When the blades come in contact with a material, this oscillation weakens the molecular bonds of the object before making contact with the cutting edge, weakening the material's structural integrity before the blade cuts it. While striking, cutting, and thrusting attacks are the usual uses with the blade. Combined with the other enhancements offered by the unit, proficient users could wield the blade with such accuracy and speed that they were able to deflect bullets. They also possess elastic properties and can extend up to a meter long, but the blade's design and style differ between unit holders. Though remarkably efficient, they have their limitations. The location of the blades limits their effective range and utility to elbow strikes and swings. Also, other vibrational weapons of equal frequency can disrupt the sword's oscillation, often resulting in explosive feedback. They are also susceptible to corrosive liquids, and explosions can easily destroy them, despite oscillation. Now we've got the crown jewel of the Guyver's arsenal, the Mega Smasher. This is a set of organs located in the chest, which can channel energy into a single directed beam of highly charged particles. This beam is officially stated as being capable of delivering a blast of more than 100 megawatts in terms of force. The organ which produces this beam is fragile but is usually covered by the chest armor. Considered in GUYVER canon as the most powerful particle beam weapon existing on Earth, it possesses tremendous destructive capability, gouging through Mount Minakami in an instant. When fired, the chest armor is opened and the lens body is exposed. The size of the lens body is still compact in this state, but gradually expands as the growing charge of energy pushes the lens outward. Light is gathered at the center of the iris, but this just means it's glowing as the charge builds up. No external energy is ever drawn in. When the particles are all collected and reaches a critical point, the smasher is fired. Fired together or individually, both emitters project the high-energy particle beam of energized subatomic particles that disrupts the atomic and molecular structure of a material target. For a bit of scale, this weapon has the energy output comparable to the energy needed to power a military aircraft carrier. Converting this wattage to joules, the Mega Smasher would have a kinetic power reaching at least 86 tons of TNT force. The smallest nuclear explosive devised, the Davy Crockett bomb, has an explosive force of 20 TNT tons. So you could see it has quite the punch, but as powerful as this weapon is, it has its drawbacks. The Mega Smasher consumes an enormous amount of energy powered from the host, who happens to be supercharged by the BioBoost process that basically infuses the host cells with energy from the boost dimension. This is why the Smashers can't be readily fired again, as the energy has to be restored within the host body before it can again be channeled to fire the Smashers. Proficient users have adopted the practice of using one emitter at a time, reducing their energy expenditure by half, reserving using both sides only in extreme situations. Given the nature of the weapon, the particle beam can be deflected with the appropriate energy shielding, such as Neo-Zectol's electromagnetic field emitter. Beings of substantial power, such as Arc-Unful, have proven quite capable of not only resisting, but reflecting the beam back at its source with much greater power. Now we'll move on to some high-value utility systems the unit offers. The first one is the Gravity Controller. The Gravity Controller Orb siphons gravitational energy from a higher dimension. Two main uses include giving the GUYVER the ability to fly and to unleash destructive gravity waves that are compressed into a circular-shaped ball and fired. This application is called the Pressure Cannon. This could also be used to block attacks like a small temporary shield. I put this in the non-weapon system because while the Pressure Cannon is a viable weapon to the GUYVER's repertoire, it's not the main function of the Gravity Controller. Just a very handy application of it. Then we've got the Head Sensor. Each GUYVER displays two metallic orbs on either side of its head. These orbs afford the ability to sense electromagnetic fields outside of their user's direct line of physical sight. This is displayed as an outline of whatever body the GUYVER is sensing. It also appears to have some thermal sensing properties. The user can home in on sound waves and pick up on vibrations within the atmosphere, allowing the user to locate individuals from a distance or sense incoming attacks. This was most likely surveying equipment for the Uranus who equipped the units. But in the hands of humans become quite the nifty support system to better help them deal with unorthodox opponents like stealth or super long-range attack using zoonoids. Now, the final system that should be mentioned is the mechanism that ties all of these powerful systems together. The control medal. This device is located on the forehead. This metal button-like sphere regulates the energy flow between the organism and the host body, as well as preventing the alien parasite that the BioBooster system is based on from literally eating its host alive. It also stores the genetic structure and memories of its host, along with the host's own consciousness, so that if the host is injured or killed, it regenerates the host from even the smallest bits of genetic material. It can also be assumed that Control Medal's ability to store host memories in mind is the reason why unit holders are immune to telepathic control or manipulation. This feature is also the reason why the host's memories prior to brain injury or destruction remain intact, as discovered by Sho upon being fully regenerated. If the Control Medal is destroyed or removed, the unit absorbs its own host. The Control Medal has tentacles that reach into the host's brain, and is the hard wiring of the unit that allows the host to use the systems of the unit. Think a man-machine interface mechanism. This mechanism is most likely a crystalline quantum supercomputer that oversees every aspect of the unit's operation. From calculating the spatial coordinates of its host for its deployment from the pocket dimension to equip to its host, ensuring that the regeneration and healing processes are carried out properly, regulating the energy flow to the weapons, as well as to maintain the health of the host, as well as acting as the means of communication between the users and other alien technology like the relic ship. This device is so powerful that it's most likely the most time-consuming and complicated phase of manufacturing a BioBooster unit. I'll elaborate. How the creators manufacture a G unit is probably no different from how Kronos managed to make one. Once the creators were satisfied with the engineered organism that served as the BioBooster armor's base, They just need to remove some cells from the biobooster organism to be cultured to a certain size, and then install a control metal by having the control metal's tendrils make contact with the massive cells of the biobooster organism. The biobooster organism cells most likely were engineered to accept the command from the control metal via a chain link system, where once the control metal's tendrils made contact with one cell, every other cell that was in contact with that first cell would also be subjugated to the control metal's commands. This was seen in the manga when the rogue bio-booster creature that was terrorizing the surroundings as a doppelganger of Sho reverted to a mass of cells after making contact with him, with his armor equipped. The control metal was seen glowing. It would be reasonable to assume that the control metal did that to signify that it re-established contact with the rogue bio-booster cells of the creature and regained control over them, reabsorbing them into the armor. But anyway, back to the manufacturing process now. So once the clump of biobooster cells were dominated by the control metal, which would have no user data installed on it at that point in time, it would assume the form of the inactive mode for a unit. The outer casing of the unit in its inactive mode is most likely an ablative anti-shock secretion. Well, it's either a secretion or calcified biobooster cells. The casing segments are seen evaporating once the unit is activated. It's most likely this secretion or calcified cells that makes up the majority of the outer armor, and also gives each activated Guyver its distinctive color. But what decides the color is unknown. Perhaps some kind of psychological element from the host or something. It just showcases how incredible the control metal is. There's one more thing I'd like to add about the control metal before we move on. This has to do with earlier in the video when I said it was speculated that development data from the GUYVER unit manufacturing process was used in the bioweapons program that resulted in humanity. This would be the Zoa crystals. There's no doubt that these things were derived from data used in the control metal manufacturing process. They regulate and maintain the crazy output of a Zoa Lord's battle form. But the Zoa crystals are inferior to the control metal since it doesn't offer regeneration or any semi-sentient autonomous feature. It also doesn't have the shielding against mental corrosion that the control metal has. Since the Archanfel was still subject to the Uranus will before they launched the asteroid at Earth. Now, onto some other features. The biobeacons. The unit leaves two growths on the back of the host that act as a form of communication between the host and the unit, while also being able to sense other Guyver hosts nearby. When the host calls for the armor, a signal is sent and the unit is activated. When not needed, the armor is stored in what can best be described as a subdimension. It follows the host constantly so as to be instantly available when needed. When the unit is called by its host, its appearance causes a destructive burst that damages anything within a few feet of the host's body. This is a pretty good way to ensure that there is no interruption during the armor equipping. So we'll move on to one more tidbit about the GUYVER unit. It's the bio-boosted creature that was mentioned earlier. This creature does not have its own shape or form. It is an unknown living creature that strengthens and amplifies the living function of its host. This is the true body of the cells of the bio-boost armor. Usually kept in check by the control metal, if for some reason it separates from the control metal, it will return to its brutal form and will continue to find a new host. Having the genetic information of its host, it has the ability to mimic it. In the manga, the bio-boosted creature managed to form its own body containing the genetic information of Sho from the severed hand of GUYVER 1 during the battle with Enzyme. But the creature did not have a copy of Sho's consciousness within it, and was nothing but a mindless clone compared to the original Sho who retained his consciousness after being resurrected via regeneration through his GUYVER's control metal. Because of it, it causes trouble to those around Sho, until Sho fought it and used his unit to absorb it. In the anime, however, Sho's body devolved into this creature. rather than it regenerating from his severed arm after his control metal was torn out by enzyme. The severed arm was not addressed in the anime. Now the final part of the video, the GUYVER Gigantic. Sho, desiring more power to fight against Arch-Anfel, had subconsciously used the newly fused control orbs from the relic ship to build an upgrade module for the GUYVER unit. The Gigantic is by design anti-Zoalord equipment. The Gigantic is estimated to be at least 20 times superior to the base unit and is known to improve all of the GUYVER's weapons and add some new ones. There's no need to mention the weapons again, so I'll just discuss the new features. A new feature is the energy amps. These organs give the Gigantic the ability to produce an omnidirectional force field similar to a Zoalord's barrier. The power amps can be used to control body parts if severed from the main body. But the main use of these organs is to store a massive amount of energy for immediate use by the Gigantic. The weapon's output has been increased with the Gigantic, but they also come with increased energy requirements. The energy amps address that issue. Even if the user switched from one to another while the former was battling an opponent moments earlier, the energy would not be immediately replenished once the user has been switched. Normally in cases like this, the new user would need to use the less energy-hungry weapons until the energy has recovered enough to use the higher energy ones that would most likely lead to a decisive victory. The last thing to mention is the Gigantic Exceed. The Gigantic's size increases to 52 meters, with all the orbs and chest spike glowing, and in Sho's case the body color changing into a dark red and black. This is the true form of the Gigantic. The 3 gravity orbs and power amps operate at full capacity, constantly drawing the necessary energy needed to keep the Gigantic's size from another dimension. All of the Gigantic's weapons and abilities are available in this form, and their power is increased in proportion to its size. But there's one weapon of particular note, the Gravity Implosion. This is only available in Exceed mode. It's essentially a gravity cannon that fires a black hole towards a target. The only drawback is its long charge time, but it is an incredible weapon. I'll end the video here. I think I've covered everything I can think of about the GUYVER. It's one of my favorite series, and I hope it's one of yours too. Till next time, bye.